Am I the only one that every time the name Jonas is said, I think of the song?
The Jonas Brothers?
No, my name
No,
is
I
Jonas.
think of the Jonas.
My name is Jonas. Bow, 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 bow.
My name is Jonas. I'm carrying the wheel.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Achievement Hunting 101 Game Club for OXENFREE. I am Kronos, and for tonight's discussion, I am joined by Carpe Adam 79,
Hello.
Freem Hole,
Hello.
and Petart TX.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Good to have you on board this time from the start. We are going to be discussing more OXENFREE. If you have not heard our previous parts, you may be coming in a little confused, but hopefully you've had a chance to play through OXENFREE up to the point where we're going to be discussing. If not, as a warning again, we will be discussing this game in depth, so there will be spoilers. I recommend that you play the game first, but hopefully we will give you some entertaining insights into the game as we go. Last week, we discussed our option where we were going to save Ren, or figure out what was happening with Ren and try and meet up with him. And we took a path past a lake, and met up with Nona briefly, eventually met up with Ren, and sent them both essentially back to Harden Tower, while we decided then to go on and try to rescue Clarissa, which was our other choice when we left the tower the first time round, which is where I had chosen to go first, but the three of you had all chosen to go save Ren, so we went with that path first. And now you're going to get to see what I saw. So this path of Clarissa requires us to go to Fort Milner. And we've just, in your situation, we've just left the woods and have walked across the bridge into Fort Milner. And it's going to be much the same at this point. Even though this is a different path, it really is just about the order. Some of the things that happen are going to feel different for you than they did for me, such as the things that felt different for me when we were going around on Ren's Loop would feel different for you because you saw that first and I was seeing it second. But ultimately, this doesn't change as much. And that was a question you guys had last time. How much does this actually affect things? The answer is not too much, but it affects you in the mind. So I want to talk to you guys and see how it went for you. What were your experiences as you came into Fort Milner?
So if I get this...
Creepy.
Yeah, it was creepy. If I understand this correctly, then, Kronos, you, as coming in the other way, you would have entered at the bottom by the cafeteria at the base of that lighthouse thing, and the three of us came in through the top.
Yes.
And crossed the cliffside on our way over there.
I tried to go up, and I went right past the door that you're eventually going to go through. We'll come back to that in a second. And I walked all the way around, and I got to the path where you guys came in from. And I was trying to open that up, and it wouldn't open. So it is open for you. It would not open for me.
That's funny, because I saw the door you go through, I saw it too, and I completely ignored it, because it's like, well, there's this big dumb lighthouse here with this red light. Like, clearly that's my thing. I got to do something here first.
Yeah. Yeah, I went there first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a little more obvious to you guys, because you've done this a couple of times now. You've had this thing keying you in that, oh, this is the thing I need to do. This is the game mechanic. I hadn't had that. I'd had the one experience in the cave, and then I came right here. So I'm sitting around in Fort Milner saying,
That's a good point.
Heck? Where am I supposed to
Yeah,
go?
we had the gondola.
I know I'm supposed to go find Clarissa, and she's over here somewhere. Yeah, so you had a gondola, you were saying, and it's the solution was, of course, that you take your radio out at the light, and you use the radio to tune into the red light the way you always do. And I figured it out eventually. But it took me a good 5 or 6 minutes of wandering around that screen in Fort Milner to figure it out on my own. But having had that experience on the other side, the second loop, no matter which way you go, is a little bit easier. You're familiar with the game mechanics now. So the light talks to you.
Oh, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, it sings to you in the radio style. It gives you the radio broadcast and tells you something interesting might be happening soon. It's not nearly as creepy as the rest of the conversations go on, but it does give you that notice that, this is still something strange and outside the ordinary. Usually, as we discussed earlier, tuning the radio does not have these kinds of effects, but it does start bringing that right up.
That's interesting, because, I was messing around with the radio the whole time. I hadn't clued in on those rock stacks. So I was just pulling my radio up wherever, listening to music, finding the talk radio station, listening to whatever. So I probably heard that and was just like, yeah, okay, more background noise, whatever, and just completely tuned it out. What did they say? Did Petard or Carpe, did you glean anything from that? I completely glossed over it.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
I'm also struggling to remember if it's the point where I'm thinking it is, where you're in that one lower room and it has that overhanging red light. I just remember it being super, super creepy because I was sitting in my living room in the dark playing this alone. and I was getting like super like creeped out, like, hair standing up on the back of my neck.
No, this is before that.
No, we're talking
Kronos,
about
what?
when you first
Yeah,
get
what do
there,
they
right?
say?
And there's that red light, and you've got the door on the right, but then there's also a door on the left.
If you walk past the door, it sort of makes a sound letting you know that's where you're supposed to be going. And if you try it, it says something along the lines of it's not locked, but it's like it's blocked. You can't open it, and it becomes opened when you trigger this lighthouse or water tower event. It's just radio snippets, but it doesn't really have a whole lot in. I didn't write this one down because it wasn't all that interesting.
Okay.
But it's just that little extra thing. And we'll get to the thing that Peter was talking about in a couple of minutes, because that's where we're going to spend a fair bit of time, I think. That sequence was pretty intense.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's another puzzle in this game that I solved without realizing I was solving a puzzle.
Yeah, for sure.
I've had a few of those experiences, but it's fine.
No, in some cases that's great because you feel super smart for it.
Well, it's not even that. I think we're just so attuned to being, like, the gamer mind is just like, okay, well, here's a mechanic I think can progress the story. Like, we're just so invested in the story that we completely overlook the game mechanics that are happening because we're just firing on an autopilot. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, like if you're playing a first-person shooter, you're like, aim down sight, pull the trigger, here we go. And, you're operating on another level. So I think as, gamers like we are, we're experiencing this story so much more deeply because we don't have to think about, okay, how do I solve this? Because it's just coming to us. Because they're not overly difficult puzzles until you get to the game of Hangman. We'll get to that.
We will get to the game.
Yeah. That bothered me.
But before we get to Hangman, Jonas gets himself stuck in a room. We get through the door. The very next screen, we're exploring that, and he goes into a room, and he gets himself locked inside, and we have to free him.
Well, he chases Clarissa
some interesting
inside,
things happen
doesn't
along
he?
the way. Yeah, he thinks it's Clarissa.
Yeah.
We
She's
saw
not in
something.
there,
Yeah, we saw
so.
something run past. I thought it was Clarissa. I mean, it was like, oh, there she is. But, like, she looked weird. Like she was, like, kind of grayish. And I was like, what the hell, where's she going? What's going on? And I thought, oh, well, maybe because Nona had seen us before and was all freaked out, that Clarissa is like, oh, who are these? Like, oh, I'm freaked out because, Alex is here. Look out. She was crazy before. And so I just kind of passed it off. And then Jonas goes taking off. And it's like, oh, well, given the conversation that we've started to have with Jonas about Clarissa, I'm starting to think like, man, what's your deal with her? And then when he ran off, I'm like, oh, you so want to try to hook up, you son of a... I don't...
Yeah.
And some of the conversation in that sequence and then the next scene, there Alex is really grilling him on that. So why are you so interested in Clarissa? Are you trying to date her too?
Yep.
So she's right there with you.
Yeah, I picked up on that as well. And it'd be weird, like, each of her brothers dating Clarissa.
Yeah. That would be
Yeah.
weird. I didn't even put that together till like right this second, but you're right, that is kind of gross.
Is it more or less gross than when we were trying to think that maybe we would date him?
Hey, at this point,
That
at
is
that
true.
point,
Honestly, I think that
I
might be more
didn't
gross.
know. But now, like, the cat's out of the bag. Everybody knows. He's just being a creeper.
Everyone's on board with all of this information.
I mean, I know some people in the South are okay
a
with
teenage
that.
boy.
No.
Can we go in there?
So when I saw Jonas in the door, I mean, so predominantly is that picture. There's like a poster. There's two posters on the wall with the walkie-talkie and the lock, the open lock, and it's like,
Yep.
Yeah.
okay, well, there's some sort of voice
It's really
mechanism here.
signposting for you.
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable, and it's like, okay, well, so I can't interact with this here. Let me go up and take a look at this upper room or whatever, and that's kind of where things start. I'm trying to remember when the mirror comes into play, because you walk past it the first time and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. There's the mirror, but I had a little bit of knowledge of like the mirror thing, and so I kind of knew what to expect, and so I was waiting for the mirror thing to happen.
And it didn't happen right then.
Nope, totally didn't.
It's going to happen in a minute or two, but it didn't happen right then. So you climb up the stairs, you get into the other room, and you find some equipment that gives you some information, pieces together the puzzle, what you need to do. And Jonas is yammering at you the entire time. He's taken on Ren's job here of being the motor mouth.
Yeah.
And you walk back down to open the door with your trusty radio again. And this time, as you walk past the mirror, what happened?
Is this where you take the photo in the mirror?
Nope, before that.
No, the photo's after
Okay.
you open the door back up and Jonas comes out, but You walk past it first, and
Something happens.
you're going to talk to yourself.
I'm just trying to remember. The photo
Yeah,
stood out so much to me. But
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because there was that entity in the reflection. Like, I remember there being a conversation, but I don't remember the specifics of the conversation.
So did you guys see the gamer tag pop across?
Yes, mine was Castle Will Kill.
Okay, I know that guy or person. I don't even know if it's a guy or a
Yeah,
girl.
it's a guy. He's from another
Yeah.
podcast, I believe.
I recall that name. Petard, who is on yours? Anybody we know?
I don't know. I didn't know
Okay.
I was supposed to pay attention to that.
Mine was Narcissist Code, and the reason that was strange to me is because just being on the Z to Z podcast, I would get a lot of friend requests, and so there's a lot of people that I game with and people that I don't necessarily know. A lot of people I joined up through Destiny clans, and so this Narcissist Code is a person that I don't regularly game with. But I get the notifications when they pop up on my screen, and this happened to be the last person to sign in that triggered the notification on my screen because it happened like 3 minutes before this event. And so I'm wondering, like, is it the last person to sign in? And that's how the, seeing behind the curtain of which gamer tag pops
I honestly
up?
don't know how it selects. That's a clever idea.
I don't know because I don't get pop-ups of people
Okay.
signing in unless they're on my favorites list, and I don't have very many of those. But I didn't even realize I was friends with him on Xbox. To be honest, I don't remember if I've played anything with him
Sure.
or not. If I have, it was a long time ago. But is there a point to that?
Yes, there is a point to that, and we'll come back to that a little bit later on. But
Okay.
now that we're talking about the gamer tag and the gamer tag talking to you in this mirror, I want to bring us back to what I promised we'd talk about last week when we were discussing the Alex who was talking to us in the lake.
Yeah.
The Alex who's talking to us in the lake is another example of this. It's another person with a gamer tag over their head. However, frequently you can't see the gamer tag because the ripple effects on the water make it illegible.
Oh, I didn't even... Yeah.
Oh.
Interesting.
Oh.
I wish I have a recording of that.
But it's the same mechanic being used.
I
Yeah.
wonder who it was.
So, is the reflection that you're seeing somehow something that the other person did, causing it to say what it says?
Yes.
Oh.
Ooh,
Next level.
Yeah.
that's
This-
cool.
The game doesn't just pull the gamer tag, and I don't know how it pulls the gamer tag, or how it even starts. The first person who plays this game, how do they have an experience?
Sure.
But now that enough people have played it, it pulls somebody from your friends list who has played it and tells you something that they chose in their game.
I'm trying to even think of when this happened, though, because the comment that it made to me was, "Don't let Jonas talk to his mother." It was the option I
Yes, this one is about Jonas and his
yeah,
mother.
and it said, "Don't let Jonas talk to his mother," and it's like, okay,
Narcissist Code told you not to let Jonas talk to his mother.
yeah,
Rogue 1992, who spoke to me, told me the exact opposite. He said, when the opportunity comes up, let Jonas talk to his mother.
it's the same situation that happened during the lake, and I responded the same way. Jonas's mom is dead. Like, she gone.
Exactly. So yeah, you're exactly right. How can we make Mike break up with Clarissa or not? How can we let Jonas talk with his mother or not? Those people are all dead. We're not going to have further interactions with them. Or
are
Jonas-
we?
Or Clarissa won't.
Oh.
Or are we?
Bum, bum, bum.
So that freaks Alex out a little bit.
It freaked out Brandon.
She walks forward. She opens up the door. And she lets Jonas out and has an opportunity to tell him about his experience, the experience with the mirror. Did you tell Jonas what happened, or did you keep it to yourself?
I kept it to myself because at this point I was kind of getting pissed at Jonas. Like he was kind of getting on my nerves, and so I was like, you know what? No, he's doing his own thing. He's all interested in Clarissa. I'm taking this with me. I don't know what's going on, but he's not helping. So I'm gonna figure this out on my own by myself.
How about you, Adam?
I think my response was more of the, okay, something weird's happening again. Whatever the option was, there was something like that. So I mentioned that something had happened, but I don't think it was like a specific about what it was.
Yeah, and I believe my choice was exactly the same as Adam's. Because I've always been trying to bond with Jonas in my playthrough, you know, be like the nice sister. So just trying to be open and upfront with him. So I believe I did share. I'm not sure if I got down into the deep specifics.
I did give the specifics. I said, hey, the mirror just talked to me, or whatever that choice was. And so the fact that Jonas then wants to go and interact with the mirror himself was very in keeping because I had told him what had happened. You guys didn't give him as much information, and I know that he's going to go, and eventually he's going to take the photo of the mirror, as we've discussed a little bit already.
Yeah.
Right.
How did he express that to you, that he was going to take a photograph of the mirror for you guys?
I don't remember.
I also can't remember the specifics because I think
Was he just taking a selfie or something?
I thought it was along the lines of like Rockstar Hero, or it's something about thanking her for rescuing him and taking a picture to celebrate the moment.
yeah,
Cool.
Okay.
yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
More of
Yeah, I
a
agree.
commemoration thing, not like a hey, let's try and see what's going on.
Right.
Because I have told him already that this has happened, and because we've got creepy things happening on the island, I tell him that it's something creepy has happened with the mirror, and he's like, cool, let's take a photo of it and see what happens. And I'm like, that's a really bad idea, Jonas. Why are you doing this? That's not the experience you guys have, where you can berate him for bad decision-making because, you know, he doesn't have any ill intent,
Yeah.
really. But trying to take a photograph of these guys? Why would you want to do
Well, but
that?
even in the other pictures, like at the lake scene, and what was the other picture? Like you could see the glowing red eyes in the background. Like they're there.
Yep.
So things are getting. I mean, they're creeped out. Like, so I mean, he kind of already knows this is happening. So me just to say like, yeah, no, things are weird. Whatever. Let's go.
But this picture was more than red eyes. Like you saw,
this one,
at least in
this
mine.
one in the mirror
yeah.
was significant.
Yes, like full
There is a
entity.
thing.
Like yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you see the photo, you can definitely tell there is something
Right.
there, and it does not look friendly.
Okay, so now's a moment for me to bring up something that's pretty cool as well. After the photo is taken, you don't get to see the photo right away.
Nope.
You have to change the scene, and then the photos are the scene transition
Right.
images that the game
Right.
uses. So you see it as you're changing scenes. But as soon as the photo is taken, you can see more red eyes throughout the entirety of
For
the background.
sure. Up in the there's that staircase that went to that upper room, and just above that staircase, kind of in that little background area there, the little red eyes come floating around. And then I thought there was some down to the left too, like at the bottom of the second set of stairs, kind of where you said something about
Yep.
the classroom, like, oh, I can't believe they left that like that, or everything. It's creepy that this was all staged like this. And the little red.
With all the handprints?
No, that's in the next scene, but.
Handprints
Yeah,
are
but
next
they were
room.
like
Oh, okay.
school desks or a cafeteria or something. But there were some eyes down there too at the bottom of the steps, and it was like, dude, there's these eyeballs all over the place.
Gosh, I don't remember the eyeballs
They were
everywhere.
creeping me out.
I
Well,
do-
because they don't necessarily look. I mean, you remember the picture? They don't necessarily look like eyes per se, but they're those. They almost look like sideways candle flames. You know, because they're that just.
They're very
Yeah,
subtle.
they're just this little kind of like red tinge, and you're almost like, is that like a firefly? Is that like a? But they're equally spaced, pointing in opposite directions, and it's like, no, that's like the bridge of a nose. Like there's, they're following some sort of pattern of where an entity's eyes would be.
Yeah, I definitely noticed the sprinkling of the eyes as well.
And Petard, I was in the same boat as you doing this. This playthrough was at like 11:30 at night in my house with my headphones, in the dark, and I was sitting on my couch with my kitchen and entryway all behind me. So if anyone wanted to come and creep me out like Cronus's wife, that would have been the opportunity. I would have flipped out.
The game, we've mentioned this before, but the game does an amazing job of getting under your skin, not with jump scares or any of the usual techniques, but with just this completely chilling atmosphere.
Yeah.
The atmospherics in this game are astounding.
There's like so heavy. It's like I remember multiple instances of where I was sitting there and experiencing this, and just like looking around my room and just saying, I'm still here in reality, right? Like this, I'm just trying to ground myself and say, okay, this is just a game. You're all right. Let's keep playing. And almost it's just one sentence pep talk, but just, hey, this is you're having fun. Remind yourself you're having fun.
I actually had to do the same thing. I had to pause, like, okay, look around my living room, like, okay, that's not
There's no
actually
eyes in
going
here.
on. There's no like, yeah, there's no red lights. There's no random like scary
Yep.
radio recordings, and that
Yep.
tuning noise.
Oh
When
yeah.
you tune the radio to make those triangles, oh, that really
It's
like,
haunting.
yeah,
Haunting.
yes,
Are you guys actually having fun? Is this still fun for you?
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
I'm
there-
just worried when my dog comes down with his little collar and like he's gonna do it at some point, and I'm gonna be real unhappy when he does because I'm gonna possibly pee my pants. I don't know.
For me, it's the mystery. It's just the mystery of it
Yeah.
all, because I like sci-fi type stories, and this to me has kind of not like a real in your face so much, but it's more just like a paranormal type of thing going on, and just trying to dig through all of the clues that we get along the
Yeah.
way, and trying to figure out what this means and how it all fits together like a puzzle. I have ideas of what might be going on, but I still don't really
Yeah.
know, and that's what's kind of keeping me with it. Is I want to know what is going
To
on.
keep with that puzzle analogy, it's like, typically when you start a puzzle, I don't know for you, but this is for me, you make the frame and you fill in the middle.
Oh, cool.
But
Yeah.
this game feels like you're starting in the middle and you don't know how big it's going to get. You're just adding pieces from this middle thing, and you're like, at some point, this is going to turn into a picture. I know it will, but I'm really excited as I keep putting these pieces down and fitting them all in here and just getting an idea of what the hell's going on.
And the game has been fun because we were talking about obviously like kind of like the scare, horror, like terror factor, but it's not like that game is at that level all the time. There's a reprieve from that. There's a good, splash of humor and some interesting dialogue. So, I mean, it's not like intense, scary all the time. So I'm glad it's not like it goes between the two ends. It's not constant one scary or not scary at all.
Although we get to a scary part here.
Oh yeah, the scary part's going to come
Oh,
up next scene.
Yes.
You mentioned your dog coming in, needing to be taken on a walk would maybe make you pee your pants. Jonas in our next scene has had it with lack of bathroom breaks.
Oh, yeah.
And there's been no
Yeah.
bathroom. He's like, I'm sorry, but I have to do this, and he just whips it out and starts peeing on the floor.
Like, dude, you were just outside.
What the hell is this?
We were just outside.
Yeah, this is exactly what P-Tart was just saying. Where, like, this type of thing totally diffuses the situation. It's perfectly timed. It's perfectly paced. You are freaked out, and all of a sudden, you get to watch a boy urinate on your TV, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, these are just kids, and they, we're okay. It's a safe place. It's a safe place. Like you're going through this roller coaster, and they're pacing it so well. It is remarkable.
It does end up being a bit of humor because he says something along the lines of, "Yeah, the acoustics are really carrying it,"
Yep.
because he's trying to be more discreet, but it's kind of loud. It's kind of obvious that he's taking a whiz there.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, well, if the acoustics are carrying, what else is carrying, guy? I don't want to have any part of this.
See, I was thinking that he was going to tick those entities off and they were going to do something because he's peeing in
Same.
their house.
I that crossed my
Well,
mind.
maybe that's why he's the target.
Yeah, that crossed my mind too. Of like, oh, you're defiling these people's homes.
Yeah.
Like,
So messed
what if those
up.
eyeballs were sitting right down there? You would have hit them right in the face.
I was just uncomfortable because, like, I'm standing there watching my brand new stepbrother just whip it out and pee right in front of me. I have a brother, and my entire life he has never done that in front of me. Thank goodness.
It's not a normal behavior. I think that would be a thing that would give me concern about someone's judgment.
Yeah.
Did you guys stay relatively close to him, or did you walk away? Like, I walked all the way to the door. Like, I was trying to get as far away from him as possible. I was like, I'm uncomfortable by this. Alex doesn't want to see this, and we're already, like I said, having some issues with Jonas right now, so this is the last thing I need. And so I tried to get as far away from him as possible.
I did as well. I went as far left on the side of the screen because I'm sorry, I didn't want to see.
Oh, you went left? I
his
went
nether
right.
regions.
I tried to go through that door.
Nether regions.
Yeah, the door you just come through, which you cannot go through anymore. It locks as you come back through it.
Yeah, I went over there. I was like, oh, I can't go back out the door.
I got stuck in this room for a while, actually, because you go through the window in the end, and for whatever reason, I just couldn't figure out how to get through the window. I'm at the window, pressing the button to jump through the window or whatever, and it's not responding. And so I'm just getting more and more upset, because in my mind, I'm Alex here, in this room, stuck in this creepy situation, and it's full of urine! It just makes it that much worse that I was stuck in that room. We get out of the room, we go down the escape ladder or whatever it is, so we can get around, and there we see Clarissa one more time, and she's running into the next building. We call out to her, and she just doesn't respond. She's just completely ignoring us like we don't exist yet.
So again, this just plays into me thinking she has seen us before and is creeped out like Nona was. Like that was my brain path on this one.
To me, it's like we're not entirely in the same plane of existence, so she doesn't even know we're there. Maybe
that's totally
to me,
valid.
She just looked off.
She does look a little off, doesn't she?
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it almost seemed like she had like that grayish, reddish glow of like when the others were possessed by those entities.
Like the color was sucked out of her.
Do you remember what color clothes Clarissa was wearing?
On the beach?
Yeah, on the beach.
I thought it was
red?
like was she? Oh,
she was wearing some red.
All I remember was like black, white, and gray. I don't remember any color, so that's why when I seeing her here, I was just like, oh, that's just emo Clarissa being her moody old self.
Yeah, Clarissa is our red character in this. She wears a lot of red. Her text is in red if you have subtitles on. Her name is in red when she's the one speaking, so she's red. The Clarissa who's running along here, she's still got red coloration, but it seems to be, at least to me, subdued.
Yeah,
it's not as vibrant as the red that was on the beach when she was wearing it.
And this building with that gigantic mural on the side of it, that seemed a little ostentatious.
Yeah, the Tony the Tiger.
Yeah, very much of like, you know, that would be on your B-52 bomber, the side of your plane.
Yeah, the entire island feels like it's basically surplus from World War II at this point.
Yeah, 100%.
We chase her into the building, and she's gone again. Unsurprising at this point. And this is where we come into that game of Hangman we had mentioned before. So the people who have played the game know what we're talking about. But for someone who is not as familiar with the game or has forgotten it somehow, I can't imagine how you would forget this portion. Tell me what happened, Adam.
One thing I wanted to say before that, though, is it was just hitting me, this whole thing with Clarissa looking different. And I'm thinking that this is one of those situations, again, where we're seeing something maybe from the past. So maybe this is a time that Clarissa was there on the island before, and we're seeing that Clarissa, not the one that's there
like an
now.
echo or something?
Maybe. That's kind of where I'm going with, was kind of leaning with that. But on the whole Hangman thing, when everything goes upside down...
Well, so what happens when you open the door? Explain the room. Talk about the room, because that is very... It is.
Oh, the handprints everywhere?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah, you mentioned the handprints right away.
It was so creepy.
I mean, they just stand out
It's
like a sore thumb.
Really... Oh, yeah.
So bright.
And
It's the only bit of white in the whole room.
I don't remember exactly when it happens, but like when more handprints start hitting the wall, that really made my hair stand on end.
That was after the game, wasn't it?
That was...
That's after the game, but it starts off with about 7 handprints, I think I counted, on the chalkboard, and it's like someone took chalk residue and made a handprint out of it, but it also looks like it could have been paint, honestly. So it's like kids had put their hands on it, and that looks really cute.
I didn't see cute at all. No.
No, there was no cute factor.
None whatsoever. Not in that setting.
It's funny because, like, again, you're in a classroom setting, so I assume kids. But given the scope of the image, like how small your character is, like it's hard to tell size. I mean, they very well could be an adult classroom with adult hands, but because of a classroom setting, like I immediately think kids, and because I thought kids, that made it even more creepy. like for some reason, kid ghosts are way worse than adult ghosts in my head.
Yeah, the kid tropes in horror movies are always the terrifying ones.
They're the
You know,
worst.
The twins
So-
or the blonde-haired, blue-eyed kids that just
Yep.
stare into your soul.
Gosh, yeah.
Yeah, so that amped up the tension quite a bit. So the urination scene is long in the past now. I am at full alert and very much freaked out again.
It's about to get worse. So something falls onto the roof. Sounds like it might be like corrugated steel, and Alex has a chance to play it off as it's just a bird, right?
Yeah,
I wasn't buying it.
no. Yeah, maybe like an airplane bird.
And there's the lamp, that bright red bulbed lamp. That tells us what we need to do.
Fire up that radio, baby.
Oh, so eerie.
So when we fire up the radio, the entities are talking to us,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to play a game. We've seen how playful they are on the other bloop, and now we're seeing it again here. They want to play a game of Hangman. And maybe because Jonas peed on the floor, you know, Jonas is going to be our hangman.
Yeah,
The game is 3 questions long. How many questions did you guys get right?
I only
0.
got one right. I was bad. I wasn't that bad. Sorry, P-Tart.
Free
I
got one.
I at least got one right. I got the cookies question right.
I would have had all 3 right, but when it went upside down, I wasn't sure if I was still supposed to select
Oh,
my button based on the quadrants it was in or based
Because, yeah, you're
on
picturing
the
directionally.
reverse. So I guessed the wrong one. I got it wrong. I was like, dang it, I knew the answer. So I would have gotten them all right.
is that an achievement for getting
No,
them all
that
right?
is not an achievement.
Oh, that's shocking that it's not.
If it had been a different game, that easily could have been an achievement, and that would have been a good achievement to have had in there. But this game has relatively few achievements,
Yeah.
And they're all pretty straightforward. A lot of them are collectible based, a lot of them are at the end of the game. There's really only 2 that are independent of those kinds of things, and that's the slapping wren that we mentioned, and the one that Adam mentioned last week for jumping the chasm.
Are the questions always the same? The 3 questions?
The questions are always the same.
So it's always cookies. So where do you find the school name? I have no idea where that came from.
I guessed.
Was
I
it
think.
written
No,
somewhere?
No, that came up somewhere.
Okay, so they said it at some point.
Was it? Yeah, I think it was one of the things around the island where there's certain areas where you can turn on your radio and to a certain channel and you can hear like history.
Okay.
I think that's where I got it from.
Gotcha. I had no
If I
clue.
remember right.
I mean, so I was just total shot in the dark. The number of deaths I actually had listened to during, I had turned on that radio broadcast to hear the loop, and I actually heard it. But the answer I did was the number of officer deaths of 12 versus the people deaths of 85 or whatever. And so, like, I heard the right number.
Right, they're asking for.
I just picked the wrong one.
They're asking for officer deaths, which was the 85, and I was saying that the total number was 97 because you
Yeah.
had 12 passengers who were
Yep.
civilians.
That's right.
And so, since 97 wasn't on the board, I was freaking out. I got that one wrong because I said, well, it's none of these because 97 is not there. So therefore, I select 53, which was another incorrect answer.
So I didn't know you had all this extra information just playing the radio whenever, so hence my big old goose egg that I got on that one. Same with Adam. I did know the second one, but I selected the wrong one because of being upside down. And
Yep.
I remember pausing because that was the cookies one, right?
Yeah, that was the cookies one.
I remember pausing for an inordinate amount of time because it was upside down, and I'm like, okay, and like almost to the point where like I'm looking at my controller and I'm like, do I flip it upside down? Like, what am I doing here?
Right. That's where I was too.
So yeah, for the same reasons, because I got that one wrong, because it was upside down, and because I got the number of officers wrong, I only got one correct, my initial playthrough on this one. So that played into how the rest of this scene went for me. We finished the game of Hangman. However many you get right or wrong, the game proceeds, and the entities are unhappy with your performance, even if you get all 3 of them right. You know, they say that they're happy, but they're clearly not based on their activities.
Mm-hmm.
Jonas is doing what Ren did last time for you guys, and what I am seeing for the first time ever at this point, and it is terrifying.
Right.
Because he's a rag doll with the red eyes, and it's late at night, and it's dark in the room, and I'm alone, and my wife's about to jump scare me. It is all kinds of creepy.
So I'm trying to remember if does the entity prompt you for a response? Because I wrote down my response, but I forgot how I got there. Do you have any insight on that, Cronus?
Which response? I need a little more detail on this one.
So the response that I gave them, or it was a question to them, and I asked, "Are you the dead officers?"
Okay.
So I can't remember the context with which that came up, but that was my choice. Thinking like, okay, clearly there's more than one entity here, and we just had a question about, the officers and the people who had died on this submarine accident. And so that was my response there, but I don't remember the events that led up to that very specific answer.
That's gonna be part of the conversation that's about to occur, I think. And if my recollection is correct, to that question, they respond, "We are the sunken ones." So they basically affirm that they are, in fact, the officers of that sunken submarine.
Okay. Oh boy.
I was going to say, because at the end, when I answered all those questions wrong, I thought I was insta-killing Jonas. And I was like,
Yes.
holy
It sure feels
crap.
that way.
Did I just kill him? But, okay, phew, he's just possessed. He's not dead.
He's just possessed.
He's just possessed. What a
Could be
relief.
worse.
We can fix this. We've seen this before, or you guys have.
Yeah.
So we gotta radio him. We gotta pull out the triangles to save Jonas here. And when we do the triangle thing, and with the controller vibrating and that wonderful audio effect that occurs, just making us very uncomfortable, the end result is that conversation with the entity that always comes. Freem, you had mentioned that in your discussion you had that opportunity to query who they were.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other things that can come up: why are you here, or what do you want? Some really interesting answers on these. Why are you here? What a question. Never left.
That's their response. Oof.
What do you want? I love this one. This is just it's creepy, but it fits into so many things that are a part of me. What do you want?
I bet it says to go home or something like
Time. Just time.
that. Huh. Oof. That gives me chills.
And then in the middle of it, there's a recitation of poetry. We are an island race, and throughout all time, the sea has ruled our breaks. But be wary, young ones. There will be other ships and other souls to sail them. There's also a conversation about why are you doing this to us, or something like that, and why should we care if we are doing this right? In the back of the hangman, do you think that we want this? We don't want this. Nobody would want what we have.
That's messed up.
So they are definitely, excuse me, they're talking to us and giving us a lot of insight into both who they are and some of their motivations, some of the things that we've really been growing to suspect already, but we still don't know the methodology that they're trying to carry it out with. And now that the conversation is done and Jonas comes back, we can move forward and restart our quest, shaken once more, but maybe go find Clarissa and figure out what we're going to do next.
So when does the chalkboard get populated by more hands that just pepper the board?
Yeah, that's at the end of the Hangman game.
Yeah. Oh my god, that creeped me out.
Because it animates
Because like you
so
you said,
beautifully.
Peter, I assume when you answer 0 right and I get 1 right, I would have been a different story had I gotten all 3 right. But like the fact that it was like you said, the handprints show up and you're like, oh, I just killed Jonas. Awesome. There we go. Game over.
I tried to count how many handprints show up in the end, and I had a really hard time because there's a lot of them, and it's not in neat lines that make counting easy, and they're small enough that on the screen it's hard to count, but it's somewhere between 70 and 80 hands are added. So it could be very well that you have 75, 85 handprints on the blackboard by the end.
Man. Whew.
Is that number significant? Because you said what is it, 85?
85? 85 is the significance.
Yeah, 85 is the number of souls that were lost.
85 is the officers who are lost. It's not the total number of souls who are lost, because there were the 12 passengers.
That's right, didn't it?
But the 85 lost seem to be the most insistent. They are very focused on who they are. They're officers, and they're maybe a little haughty, and they're upset about this, whereas the passengers are just this afterthought, which I find to be interesting. I don't know if that's a correct reading, but it's definitely how I feel the game is talking about it, or at least the entities are talking about it to me through their conversations.
Mm-hmm. Sure. You kind of get the sense of that with the whole island, where you listen to all the flavor text about the military part of it, and you could see how that would be, oh, yeah, these are just tourists, or these are just family, or these are just, they're not us, the brotherhood of this military complex. Because you get that, I just all over, I get in this vibe of, hey, we're a tight-knit group on this, we're in this isolated military base. We're all on a submarine together. It's a tight group. And so that totally makes sense.
Back at our first episode, I asked you guys about subtitles. Are you still playing with subtitles on now that you've turned it on? Were you playing through this section with subtitles on?
Yeah, I'm definitely doing the subtitles now.
I have subtitles as well.
I have no subtitles at all. Still playing blind.
I was playing with subtitles, and I noticed that the subtitles are categorizing the entity now most of the time as the ghosts. But a couple of times, it's not. It's got the triple question mark is talking to us. And that was a little confusing to me. Did they make a mistake in giving me the name of the ghosts too early? Or are there multiple entities, again, speaking to us, and some of them we know are ghosts, and some of them we don't know who they are yet? I also wanted to point out that when the ghosts are talking to us, either in the question mark form or as ghosts, I mentioned that Clarissa is red and Alex is this teal. The ghosts are a deep green. So when they're talking to us, they're in a deep green color. And I think that's important for our next scene.
Not for me, it's not.
We walk up the stairs to get to the next area, and
presumably this is where that noise happened, right? I mean, that we heard. You're kind of climbing to the top of the roof there. I'm expecting to find some sort of catastrophe.
Well, we get something similar to a catastrophe. We get yet another time loop.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have seen the time loops before. This is actually the first time that I, in my playthrough, experienced a time loop. So I didn't know what this was yet. So it was a surprising thing to me. We get into the time loop, and we have this thing where it is immediately apparent to us that something has changed, but not what it is. This is where we're going, and we're opening the door into the room where Clarissa should be. So we go in, and Clarissa is in there, kind of. We find Clarissa has hung herself, and then we pop back out, and we have to tell Jonas to prepare himself, or we can choose not to tell him. It's up to us. We can walk in again, and she's gone this time. And we walk in again, and it's just over and over. We're going through this process of dealing with trying to get to the radio to find out if we can contact anybody. And the ghosts are playing with us, presumably through this time loop. How is this time loop experience for you? Freem, you mentioned that you were expecting something terrible. Finding Clarissa hung, that sounds pretty terrible.
Oh, I did.
I don't recall that even happening. That definitely happens.
I'm not sure it definitely happens. I think it definitely
like,
happens, but maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. My notes get very sparse at this point because I am invested. And so
Me
what I
too.
have written is a Clarissa dying thing.
Yeah.
But it's not a hanging.
Yeah, the other one is going to come in a second. Well, the last of the time loops.
Okay, that's what I thought, and so I don't remember this hanging
Yeah,
thing.
she's hung the very first time, and then we pop back out right away. So you may not even have seen her because the time loop happens very, very quickly there. But she's definitely there, and she's definitely hung.
Okay, yeah, I don't recall.
So we come in, and Clarissa is standing at the window. In fact, on top of the windowsill, on the outside.
Oh yeah.
And she's talking to us, and if you give her a long enough period of time, she will tell you a couple of interesting things, and she concludes her statement with, again, that last line of that poem. There will be other ships and other souls to sail them. And at that point, if you have not walked towards her and she concludes that, she throws herself off the windowsill. And if you try to walk towards her, as soon as you start walking towards her, she throws herself off. And she plummets, and we pan down as she falls and watch her hit the concrete.
Yeah. She is definitely dead in front of that door. Like, there is a body in front of that door.
Yeah, that horrified.
On the emotional scale, this was like a 12 for me. This was so intense.
Yeah, she still had that coloration. So like you could tell it wasn't, to me it wasn't Clarissa, but it was like the ghosts essentially threw her off. Like I didn't think that was Clarissa's choice to kill herself. Like I thought she was clearly possessed and that the ghosts essentially made her throw herself.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I additionally, it was messed up. I actually had to pause there for a second because, yeah, emotions were like very high watching that scene. But after that happened, though, I was debating, I'm like, was that the real Clarissa? Like, I know she's possessed, but there's been copies of people around the island. Is she truly dead? I don't know, because there's other dead people talking to us. So, I don't know. That's kind of what I thought at that point.
Yeah, that was one of those moments that was a jaw-dropping type of a situation where it's like, did that really just happen? And that's the part I'm struggling with, is I'm not sure what's real and what's not. Because things will happen and you'll think, okay, so this definitely happened, and then the person disappears.
Right.
Like, so was this just in my head? Was this something that is gonna happen but hasn't actually happened yet?
Mm-hmm.
Or
I remember too when you have to go back, like after she jumps and you're like, oh my god, I have to walk past her body.
And she's not there.
That was going through my head as we walked past the handprints on the chalkboard, and you open the door, no body. Where'd it go?
Oh gosh, no.
Think you got attacked by possums?
So, I want to bring in one more spoiler for people, unfortunately, because I think this is an important comparison. I know that there are a lot of fans of the video game Life is Strange. And in the video game Life is Strange, there's a sequence that is somewhat similar in terms of tone and the emotional effect it has on people with a suicide in a similar fashion. And in that game, your actions can change that to some extent. In this game, I know for a fact that they cannot. And I know this because as I was playing this, I was playing it, as I think I mentioned, I was streaming this. And so my stream partner suggests that maybe we did poorly on the game of Hangman, and that's why she died. Or maybe we made wrong dialogue choices along the way. And do we want to try and reload it and try and do better? And I spend the next 2 hours in this section of the game.
Oh, jeez.
Trying to fix this.
And just no matter what, you can't do anything about it.
And that maybe lessens the impact somewhat, and I wish that it didn't, and I hope it doesn't minimize that impact because it is a very powerful moment for everyone. But it is also, I think, really telling how powerful it was that I was willing to invest that much more time into it to try and get a better outcome. That this video game character and the situation surrounding it is so important to me. I have heard many, many people say that Life is Strange has had that kind of effect on them. It didn't affect me. This game did.
I think so. Based on it, it's interesting to hear that side of it, because based on my choices to go to Ren and then go to Clarissa, after what happened to Clarissa happened, and I'm on my way to Hardin Tower, I am reflecting on, if I went the other way, would Clarissa be in the tower and Ren jumped off the cliff? Like, my decisions to go one way or the other is that, did I essentially curse the other one to die?
And that's a very logical game mechanic-y kind of way of thinking about things. And I think that makes a lot of sense for that to be a thought process for you.
Especially with, like, Ren being on that cliff. I was like, why is he doesn't have to be that close to the cliff, close to the edge?
No, I thought the same thing as well. I'm just thinking, okay, maybe it's because I chose to go Ren, with Ren first as well. And kind of like what Kronos is saying of, okay, what did I do to lead up to this? But in a weird way, it's almost kind of reassuring that my choices didn't, really truly in the end affect that. The same thing will happen regardless.
I also think it's alleviated by the fact that the body was gone once you you left through that door, and you're like, okay, so because the body is gone, either A, what I saw didn't actually happen, B, it was not Clarissa, it was some sort of other entity, or C, like, that actually did happen, but because everything's so messed up, like, I can't let it sink in right now. So the fact that she's not there anymore makes the whole scenario of, like, okay, I don't know what's going on right now. Things are weird, but we're gonna press on. We'll get to the bottom of this. Scooby-Doo and Shaggy, as scared as they were, they still solved the mystery. So let's go.
Shaken up, but we have to press on because we have stuff to do. And some of the dialogue that's going on there as you're climbing back down the stairs between Alex and Jonas. Alex talking about how she's going to have to talk to Clarissa's mother about this. That was, really real and really harrowing stuff. Truly good writing.
Yeah.
I want to take a second here as well. I set it up a few minutes ago. I want to give you guys the payoff now. I mentioned that this is inevitable, but it's also, we're feeling more and more that it's not real, even though it had a very real effect on us psychologically and emotionally and on our characters in that regard. I mentioned that if you have the subtitles on, you saw the ghosts being called ghosts and talking in green, and we knew that Clarissa talked in red. In the room, as Clarissa is standing at the windowsill and talking to us, and right before she throws herself off, she's talking in green.
Oh.
Right.
I did not pick up on that with watching the subtitles.
Catch that either.
No, it's really subtle. It's there, but it is not something you're going to grasp right away, because it still says Clarissa. It's just, it's a different color now.
And I didn't have a chance to.
But like you guys said, though, when you didn't see the body there, that gave me some hope that, okay, maybe she's not actually really dead. Or who knows, this might be another time loop.
That also really amped up okay, we got to get off this island. Like, it's time to go. I don't want to hang out here any longer. The party time's over. I think we're out of beers. It's time to go.
And the brownies.
The brownies were gone.
And the brownies. Ren ate all the brownies. We need to go.
So we get to make our way back to Hardin Tower, and we meet up with Nona, who we met earlier, and sent on her way there, and Ren, who we sent off to get down from his high there. And I met up and carried, essentially, Ren back with me after that, and met up with Nona at the tower. Either way, you end up with the four of you on the tower, making a decision about what to do next. And surprisingly, Ren has a decent idea.
I didn't think it was that good of an idea. Actually, I kind of tuned out when they started arguing because things got really out of control between Ren and Jonas. Ugly. And I'm like, God, you guys just lay off. I'm sick of both of you.
Well, I think I know where this is one going. Ultimately, you have a choice to make about who you take with you on the next leg of your journey. You're going to go into town to enact Ren's plan, or at least some elements of Ren's plan. And you get to choose whether you're going to take Ren because it's his plan, Jonas because he's been with you and is not high, or screw them both and take Nona. Frim, I'm guessing you took Nona.
I tipped my hand. I'm like, listen, you little bratty boys, you know what? The ladies, we're out of here. You guys solve your little problems, because Jonas, you're up all on this dead chick Clarissa. Ren, you're high as a kite and completely annoying now. I'm done with both of you. Nona and I are getting off this island. You guys could stay in this tower for all I care. We gone.
Adam, who do you take?
On that, I stuck with Jonas. I've been with him the whole time. We've experienced a lot of things together, and it's probably best to keep those two guys separated anyway. So I picked him.
I also picked Jonas, just because same reasons. He's been with me the whole time. I'm trying to bond with my new brother. And I also was playing a little bit of matchmaking. I wanted to leave Ren and Nona together because they clearly have a thing for each other.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Now, to just add a little bit of context, too, to my decision, because we don't know anything about Nona, really, she's been very quiet, I thought this would be a great opportunity to learn more about her as a character as well. So that was playing into the background of my decision of, like, all right, I get these two dudes. I don't know a thing about her. Let's just spend some time with her. Get to know her. Maybe she'll open up.
All right, so Freem, you're taking Nona, and Adam and Petart, you're taking Jonas. I also chose to take Nona, and we'll get back to that, I think, next time. We're going to catch back up with where people are, get through the last chunk of time that we have here before what I had said the stopping point would be when we get to the boathouse shortly. And we'll go all the way through that section, which is not terribly long, until we get to the point where we have the final section, the climax of the story, at the point when we are going to be climbing down a ladder. You have a scene transition that occurs right before you're marching down a very tall ladder. If you're at that ladder, you're at the right place to be caught up with what we're going to be talking about for next week. I want to thank you guys, as always, for joining me, Freemhole, Carpe Adam 79, and Petart, for bringing your insights and experiences with this game, because my experiences with the game are my experience, and it's obviously something that's going to be very different for people based on their choices or their insights and what they've had happen in their own lives. And I think this game has a lot of stuff that's worth talking about, so I appreciate the time that you're giving to give me your insights and share it with the community.
Feelings mutual.
It's been super fun.
Yeah, this has been great.
I think one thing, if I could add, was in the Discord, Fighter Chip had said but listening to the first episode, was really excited that he seemed to have this, or he or she, they seem to have the same trajectory that I did with the characters. And I typed in there that, well, when you hear the next couple episodes, things are going to change. So whether you're on board with how my feelings go, because so even an experience like that where you can start off on the same page and your view of all the characters continues to morph and just go in different directions as they develop. I mean, they're so deep. There's so much here. Kronos, this is great.
I love OXENFREE a lot. I love to talk about OXENFREE. In a lot of ways, even with as much as we've been talking about it, we're still only scratching the surface because of all the things that Night Studios has put into this game. There's a lot of material that I'm not talking about because I don't want to spend hours and hours talking about it and boring people. But if you want to know more, come bring your questions or your insights and join us in that Discord that Freemhole was mentioning there. That's discord.io/AH101. There's a channel there called Game Club OXENFREE. Tell us your thoughts, what you're thinking about OXENFREE. And if you want to be part of this discussion live, let me know there, and I'll see what we can do to work you in, too.
Absolutely. It is so much fun, and we'd love to hear from you.
Fantastic. All right, guys, then until next time, thank you, and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Watch out for the creepy ghosts.
Don't pee on them.